So, this happened to me and 3 of my friends when I was about 16. There was this old house on the edge of town that had been abandoned for as long as anyone could remember. People always said that strange things happened there, but we didn't believe in ghosts or anything like that. One summer night, we were bored and decided to check it out, just for fun. Stupid, right? The house was huge, one of those old Victorian-style ones with boarded-up windows and vines crawling up the walls. It looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. We had to break through a rotting wooden door to get inside. The air was thick and musty, and everything was covered in dust. The floors creaked with every step we took, but we laughed it off, trying to act tough. After exploring a few rooms, we found this narrow staircase leading down into a basement. There was something off about it. The door wasn't locked, and the stairs looked recently used. We thought it was weird, but curiosity got the better of us. We started to go down, one by one. That's when things got strange. The basement was pitch black except for the faint light from our phones. There were all these old shelves with rusted tools and broken furniture scattered around. As we were looking around, I noticed something in the far corner. It was a pile of blankets, and sticking out from underneath was the sole of a shoe, like someone was lying there. At first, I thought it was a prank one of the guys set up, but then the shoe moved, just a tiny twitch. We froze. None of us spoke. I was about to tell everyone to get out of there, but suddenly the blankets shifted, and this guy, middle-aged, scruffy, sits up slowly. His face was gaunt, like he hadn't seen sunlight in years. He didn't say anything, just stared at us with these dead eyes. One of my friends whispered, "We should go." But before we could move, the man stood up, towering over us, and started walking toward us. Not running, just walking, but with this slow, deliberate pace. We bolted up the stairs so fast, shoving each other to get through the door. When we got outside, we slammed it behind us and didn't stop running until we were back in town. None of us said a word the entire way home. We never talked about it after that night either, and we never went back to that house. But here's the thing. A few weeks later, I was watching the news with my family. They reported that a body had been found in the basement of that old house. It was a man, homeless, who had been squatting there for God knows how long. But the scariest part? They said he'd been dead for over a month when they found him. When I was about 14, my friends and I had this dumb tradition. Every year, we'd dare each other to go into this old, run-down house near our school. It was your typical haunted house, broken windows, graffiti on the walls, and trash everywhere. Nobody actually lived there, of course. But this year, the dare was different. We had to stay inside for an hour, no leaving, no chickening out. So, me and 3 others took the challenge. We made our way there after dark, using our phones as flashlights. The house was 2 stories, but most of the rooms were empty. After about 20 minutes of wandering, we found a door at the end of a long hallway. It was shut tight, like someone had locked it from the inside. That's when we started getting weirded out, because we'd been through every other room, and there was nothing that needed to be locked up. One of my friends, Jason, dared me to open it. I remember turning the handle, expecting it to be jammed, but it opened easily, almost too easily. The room was small and empty, except for one thing, a wooden chair in the middle of the room, facing the door. That was it. No windows, no furniture, just that chair. We were all standing there, staring at it, when suddenly Jason walked over and sat down in it, like it was no big deal. The rest of us stayed near the door, kind of creeped out by how casual he was about it. Then, the door slammed shut behind us. We all jumped and tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. Jason started laughing, thinking we were messing with him, but none of us had touched the door. We started yelling and pounding on it, freaking out. Jason stood up from the chair, his face pale now, and started helping us pull on the handle. After what felt like forever, the door flew open, and we stumbled out into the hallway. But when I turned back to look at the room one last time, the chair was gone. I don't mean it was moved or anything. It was just gone, like it had never been there. We didn't stick around to figure it out. We left and never spoke about it again. A few years later, the house was torn down. They were going to build new homes or something, but during the demolition, they found a hidden room in the basement that none of us had ever seen. Inside were dozens of old, broken chairs, all piled up. No one could explain where they came from. This happened during my sophomore year of high school. My friends and I used to bike around town at night, looking for places to explore. One night, we decided to check out this old abandoned house on the outskirts of town. It was rumored to have been empty for years, ever since the last owner just up and left without a word. We had to ditch our bikes and climb over a fence to get to it. The place looked like it was falling apart. Shingles missing from the roof, windows broken, and the front door barely hanging on its hinges. We squeezed through a broken side window and started exploring. It was mostly empty, just some old furniture and peeling wallpaper, but there was something about the house that felt wrong. The air was heavy, like it was pressing down on us. We were halfway through when one of my friends, Mark, pointed out the window facing the backyard. There was a man standing outside, watching us. At first, we thought it was just some random guy passing by, but then we realized he wasn't moving. He was just standing there, staring up at us. We froze. We didn't know if we should hide or run. Mark started whispering that we should go check it out, maybe scare him off. But before we could decide, the man stepped forward, out of the shadows. He was holding something, a long metal pipe. That's when panic set in. We scrambled out of the room, trying to find a way out of the house without running into him. As we made our way through the dark, we heard the sound of the back door creaking open. He was inside. We raced to the front of the house, but the door was stuck. One of my friends was yelling, trying to kick it down, while the rest of us were frantically searching for another way out. We could hear footsteps getting closer, slow and steady. Finally, the door gave way, and we bolted outside, not daring to look back. We didn't stop running until we were back on the main road. When we looked back at the house, the man was standing in the front yard, watching us leave, still holding that pipe. We never went back, and we never found out who he was. But for weeks afterward, I kept seeing someone standing near my house late at night, just out of the corner of my eye.